The Night Witch on the Nintendo Switch. This is a cartridge provided from the Maryland Library System. It's a free roaming shooter, kind of like you remember an NES game called Burai Fighter, where you had a character and you can move around in all four directions in some respect. It's one of those games. In fact, can I even show you? I have to show you the shooting controls in a second. There's a very nasty skill check during the prologue, which I'll get to later. I got past the prologue already, so I'll show you this part of the game, then I'll probably splice in this footage with the prologue later, because that prologue was very tough, or at least the boss fight was. so yes, you actually might want to practice all of this. And we got the 3 spells that are on a cooldown. They seem to be randomly generated, so the game will probably re-explain all that later. I want to say this game has an abilities thing going on, like Symphony of the Night, where you have a character that's overpowered, and you lose all your powers when you start the regular game. That's probably what's going on here. You have a dash, shoot, sword. There's a sword? And we'll get to that later. So where's the map? I guess that's the map. There's something it's shooting at me. Okay. So you can, it's dual stick control, so you can aim with the right stick and move with the left stick. You can hold down the R button. So I can't dash. I'll worry about that later. Guess I wasn't expecting anyone to attack me here. I thought this was just a storytelling area. We'll get to the details later. There's a helpful little arrow here that shows you where you're shooting. The game also has an instinct system where the character will automatically target the nearest enemy if you don't use the right stick to aim. The trick is that the catch is that if you use the automatic firing, the auto aim, you do less damage. So the game encourages you to aim manually because you do more damage that way, which is a nice feature. The controls feel a little slippery though, so I can't really say much about how well it controls in a really, really hard fight. We'll get to that later. This game actually has a very interesting art style. It's actually not bad at all, shockingly. Not much animation, but it's all basically like a visual novel. A graphic novel. So it's actually not bad. They got kind of a, I don't say it's a Steven Universe thing. There are four heroines in this game. And they say, I guess they're kind of like the Crystal Gems in Steven Universe. Give me the loot. Take a breath and think. So what's this about? Is this a Metroidvania? So we'll leave the beacon. Don't know what the beacons are for, but I found 2 of them already. Press left on the D-pad. Okay. And I came here from the title screen, so I guess the game automatically saved at some point. I guess we're hoarding these energy shards for some reason. Did I mention this is a research stream? It's a research stream. So we'll treat it like a research stream. Well, we're playing this game just before Labor Day weekend. It's going to be a hot Labor Day, unfortunately. So I'll have to bring out the Switch again if I want to play. I'm planning on staying home and playing a bunch of Switch games if I can. But I might be able to crank open the Genesis a bit later. I got my hands on the Exo Squad game at a decent price, actually. Of course, there was no box, which will be a whole other conversation at some other point. Like, you know how boxes for video games tend to be half the price of a game? Like, if you buy a game complete in box, it tends to be twice as expensive. Well, the box is 3 times more expensive than the cartridge, if you can believe that. The box is worth $50, but the cartridge is worth only $20 or $25. So what does that tell you? Now, it's a good-looking box. Don't get me wrong. It probably uses Will Mugino's art. Mugino was the character designer, the director, and one of the co-producers for the Exo Squad series. And you'll recognize his art style if you grew up watching a bunch of animated series in the late 80s and early 90s. He worked on a bunch of them. I mean, obviously you might have seen X-Men. You saw Exo Squad, and I think he worked on Skeleton Warriors. I wouldn't be shocked if he did. Worked on the Conan animated, the Conan the Adventurer series too, which I believe that one's still streaming on Tubi TV if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, do I have to, I guess I have to shoot these things. Okay. Can I shoot the hostage? Ow! Can I shoot the hostages? By the way, your rate of fire on this gun is terrible. When you're doing the prologue, you can shoot way more bullets at once. So your abilities are really limited at this point in the game. It's a shame, really. But the idea of having a Metroidvania where you can, like, having a shoot-'em-up Metroidvania sounds amazing. Like, actually, technically, what was it? Guardian Legend was kind of a shoot-'em-up Metroidvania, but that was a game where, yeah, it was a game like Zelda, but it was a top-down shooter, and when you go into dungeons, they were, like, vertical shooting corridors. So it was like a compile shooter that Compile actually did after Legend of Zelda came out. Is it good? I don't know. I used to own it. It's one of those games. I would definitely play that game if I can get my hands on it again. I used to own it. I sold it when I got my Wii. I didn't hold on to a lot of NES games. But I mean, this was in the era before I was recording, you know, video game commentaries. I admit, if I had gotten into that stuff, like, in 2010, I probably would have made more videos. They would have been recorded on DVD players, but I still would have recorded them. There aren't that many games I was terribly interested in making videos for, to be honest with you. And I got my hands on some of the old Wii games I used to own, so. Yeah, so we'll retrieve our spell cards later. I guess I haven't bothered to rank any of the NES games I played. At some point, I'm gonna play on my mini consoles again too when it gets really hot, same as usual. But since I have the Switch, Since I have the Switch, the whole point was to break out the Switch or my laptops when it gets really hot. Did it automatically save? So I guess that's what the beacons are for. There is some slowdown during certain... Ow! There is some slowdown during certain parts, so I have to keep my eye on that. But there was slowdown when I was playing the handheld mode. So I'm curious how the game will perform now that it's mounted. Because of course I can't record footage from handheld mode. At least not without modding it. I'm not interested in modding my Switch, to be honest with you. But I do want to sample games a bit in handheld mode before I break out the mount, because I'm curious how these games perform without a mount. Because obviously, if it's a Switch, I tend to believe that most people are going to play them unmounted. They're going to play them when they're out and about. So obviously, if you can't read the text and the slowdown's really bad and the frame rates are really poor, like The Witcher 3, that's like, okay. You might not want to play this game in handheld mode. You can see what's going on, but that's not the way you want to play a game with The Witcher 3. Although, unlike Skyrim does not have that problem. Yeah, Skyrim does not have that problem. I played Skyrim in handheld mode on a regular basis. It holds up very well. Locked frame rate still looks good. Even in handheld mode, it looks great. I mean, in my mind, Skyrim is the kind of game that explains why the Switch exists. The ability to play traditional, AAA console games in your hands. And they've been trying to do that for at least a decade. I remember when I got my PSP, playing games like Monster Hunter Freedom was, the traditional console experience. What was that game? What was that game? Okay, how is this gonna work? Yeah, I think they want me to dash, so we'll worry about that later. But, like, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of, like, your fighting games. You can play those. I played Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max on my PSP. Monster Hunter Freedom, obviously, like an actual factual Monster Hunter game that was on the PS2. You could play it on the PSP. What were the other big ones? I mean, people were talking about, like, God of War and stuff, but... I never played Sparta. I never played God of Sparta, I think it was called. I think there were two God of War games on the PSP. Like, I played Daxter. Whoop, careful. Wait, wasn't there a heart? I think I picked up the heart already. Ah, stupid. I might just have to come back here later. We'll worry about that later. This is a research stream, remember? But yeah, definitely, like MLB The Show and Monster Hunter Freedom. I mean, those were like, those games justified the PSP for me. I played hundreds of hours of those games on the PSP. And Monster Hunter Freedom is a I still own Monster Hunter Freedom 2, I think. I remember Phantasy Star Portable 2 is a fantastic game. The first one was just kind of a grind, but the second one I think fixed everything. Fixed most of my problems with that game. Like they made it a lot more challenging, and that helped, because that game was really, really monotonous. The first game was really monotonous after a while. Because there was like no challenge whatsoever. But the sequel, I think, solved that problem. So I still have Phantasy Star Portable 2, so I guess I'll pull that out someday. That is the kind of game I would definitely play. Of course, Valkyrie Profile, Lenneth. The most affordable way to play Valkyrie Profile, well, in physical form. What is it? The digital form is on the PS4. Ow. The digital version's on the PS4 right now. I don't think it's on the Switch. I think it's a PS4 exclusive. And I do own Valkyrie Elysium, obviously. I made a couple of videos with Valkyrie Elysium based on the demo. But I rented it from the library again, and I said, okay, I still like playing this game. So I went out and bought it with a bunch of store credit. So that game's gonna stay in my little collection. That game's gonna drop to like $20. Whoops, I should not have grabbed that so soon. Should have waited till I took a hit. But everything about Valkyrie Elysium screams like $20. Then it's gonna jack up to 40 or 50 in a couple of years. Because no one's gonna buy it, and then Square Enix is gonna pull it from the marketplace, and then a bunch of like Length Valkyrie stands like your boy are gonna try to hunt down copies for like $50 or something. Which is a shame, because Valkyrie Elysium's a good game. It's just that people are like, it's a Me Too character action game, to be honest. And if you go in expecting like the next Valkyrie Profile game, you're going to be extremely disappointed, because it's not. Can I not kill these things? I guess I can't kill them. Fine. So I can't even go that way if I wanted to, I guess. Give me is that a beacon? Yes, it is. So I got my safe spot. No spoken dialogue to my knowledge. So I guess I got healing here. Where's the map? So let's see if I can head back home. Because I know there are some places I can't go right now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean, like, this gives me, like, this really lame gun gives me, like, Binding of Isaac vibes. I wanted to like Binding of Isaac. It's a twin-tick shooter, but your base weapon is just so lame in that game. I can't even bother with it. It just seems like I mean, it's the kind of roguelike that I would like if they gave you better weapons early on. Like, maybe Enter the Gungeon seems okay, but can I get the treasure at least? I see that loot. Give me the loot up there. It's flashing. It's just teasing me. Okay, Blood Rain, let's go. Weather got really nice here in DC, by the way, here in the Fallout 3 Germantown Police Center. Police headquarters. Here are the spell cards. So I guess I have to go to another. I guess I have to go back to that beacon. Go back over here. So I can't go to the. I can't go to the left. That sucks. There's something I missed. Yeah, there's a door to the left, isn't there? Maybe it's not here. Is there another way to go to the left? Yeah, that way. Well, we'll test the spell cards in a second, so we gotta go to a beacon. So we'll get that done. This is a boss. The character art, the character design just seems a little bit familiar. I can't think of it. Again, I don't remember the art style specifically, but it does seem familiar. I'll see if I can, because the shape of the eyes kind of tipped me off. Preparing a magical deck of user, that seems. By the way, my in the prologue, my heroine won using the power of friendship. So that's the kind of story this is. Oh yeah, there's some totally apolitical commentary about, you know, about these 4 heroines fighting a dude who like uses his power to like build a wall, I think, and he used his power to build like an army so he can defend himself, and now civilization is destroyed. We'll review that later when I get back to the prologue, I guess. Maybe the game has a codex or something I could read. Yeah, you get during the prologue you have like 6 spell points that regenerate over time, and every time you can use a spell that consumes some of those mana points. Select card. We'll have to use L or R to choose a card. Okay. I can only choose these 3, huh? Now I have a machine gun. Ho ho ho. So I must equip a card here. So it's a card, so it's like a card dealing system. That's kind of cool, actually. Where's the bomb? Conjures a bomb to existence. So it's like a, well, I don't know what it is. We'll take the 2. A shock wave. There is a shield. I'm only allowed to use 1 shield in this deck, apparently. Cards are not consumed when you use them, so go wild and use them as much as possible. That works for me. Okay, we good now? Okay, I'm done, right? Okay, so how do I leave? Okay, there we go. So we're good, right? Alright, so now what? So the cards are randomly pulled from the deck, I guess? That's what the scare worms before. Attack enemies to gain mana. Okay. Mana's on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Press the A button for the homing missile. It used 1 of my 3 mana balls. Manifest their own training place. Okay. Enter the training place. Okay, that's cool. So we can practice with our loadout, see how it works. So we have the A button. What was that for? Was that for a screen clearing bomb? Okay, so on the bottom right hand corner of the screen I have 3 spell balls. Press the X button for the axe. And then press the Y button for the sword. Stunned. Okay. That's how much life, that's how many life points I'm taking off by shooting at it. I'll take those mana balls, thank you. Y or A for the bomb. Doesn't feel like that did anything. Can I see my deck? Yeah, so... Machine gun. The bomb detonates as soon as it's damaged. Okay, so the enemies aren't going to shoot back. That won't mean very much. Machine gun has a high rate of fire for the spray and pray. And this axe destroys bullets. Okay, so it destroys everything, including projectiles. That's cool. So we need some more mana balls. So we have 2 now. So that's the bomb, but it's not going to go off. Because there's no projectiles to hit it. Okay. Y button. I did a lot of damage, actually. I think this gives me more mana. Yes, crystal gives me more mana, I think. X button is for the shield, which I needed against the boss that I fought in the pro. Actually, no, that's for the machine gun. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but... Well, DPS, I guess. It's got a wide cone of fire, which is kind of amusing. That's cool. And the X button does that. And what was that for? Clears any enemy bullets. So it's, yeah, it's a screen clearing bomb, basically. Okay. So those are my magic spells. So we can bounce. Okay. Leave the beacon. Leave the training place. That's what I meant. Okay, so that's what's going on. Well, so there are a couple of areas I'm supposed to go visit. Yeah, I couldn't go anywhere until I got my spell card, so now I can go here. So you can see the spells in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen were randomly selected from my deck, so that makes things a bit more interesting, I think. Uh-oh. Okay, Y for the homing sword. Okay, we got X for the bomb. See if anyone wants to hit it. I don't think it did any damage. Might damage me though. Again, it's kind of hard to aim because the controls are kind of slippery, so I'm kind of disappointed. I'm disappointed the controls are so slippery. Because otherwise it seems pretty promising. That's bad. Why? Now I'm out of mana. Give me the loot. Doesn't reach far enough. Okay, ow! She used the shield. A button for the shield. That was a machine gun, not a shield. I keep forgetting. So I can come back here because it works me back to the beacon. Alright. So again, I think the slippery controls are going to hurt because, I mean, it's kind of hard to aim with precision in this game. So you're probably better off just floating around, aiming in one direction and floating around. It might still work. It's just it's harder to aim with precision here than it is in other games I might have played. So probably don't get fancy. Yeah, like I said, moving left and right is kind of slippery. So there's a bit of momentum in the controls. So I have one heart left already. I was supposed to kill everybody that respawns? What's going on? There's a machine gun. Ah, crap. Like I said, it's kind of hard to squeeze between the bullets because you have a bit of momentum to your floating. So you're gonna have to account for that. This is not a game where you can just, and remember, you can't use the D-pad either. This is not a game where you can just kind of zip around to get around bullets. You know what I mean? That kind of hurts, honestly. If they're trying to make a shoot 'em up, I think the control should have been tighter. But I can see what they were trying to do, so it might still be manageable. I admire that they at least try to add the twin stick controls. But I don't think it's as tight as a game like maybe Smash TV or Renegade Ops. I really need to play Renegade Ops. I've been researching it to see if it's laptop friendly, and it sort of is. If you have a video card, it will run fine, I think. A discrete video card, it will run fine. It works on my dual-core desktop. With a Radeon 240 inside, for crying out loud, so that should be fine. Why? I tried to use the axe to get rid of the bullets. At least the bullets that were around me. Yeah, I still think this is going to be a problem with the slippery controls. Because it means you're constantly having to compensate for how your character moves when trying to get around the bullet swarms, and that's not great. Why? Why? That was the homing sword, the homing dagger. How do I get my mana back? I thought I kill enemies to get more mana, I thought, right? Because I know I'm getting gold. I don't need any more gold right now, honestly. So I guess if I hide out here, there are fewer enemies to dodge. Careful! Okay, I made it out. So those blue balls are the mana I need. Crap. Why? That's a bomb. Yeah, that Y button spell cleared out all the bullets. It's more mana. Ah, careful. So the green crap is just gold, I guess. Creds. Ah! Homing bullets. Yeah, they home in on me. I wasn't paying attention to that. Well played. Yeah, they home in on me. They're not fast, but they do home in on you a little bit. You don't get crapped in the corner. Give me the loot. Hey. Got a machine gun. I can just do auto aim, that won't hurt. Surprisingly not dead. Down he goes. Alright. Yeah, the slipperiness of the controls are going to need some work. I could probably abuse the auto aim a bit, but yeah, the slipperiness needs some work. So I can get around it, I think. It's a bit disappointing. But again, I like the idea of a game like this, so I hope this free roaming shoot 'em up works. The free roaming shoot 'em up with these with this deck building system for your cooldown based skills. I mean, some people are going to be really mad about that, honestly. Because I can cast my spells inside of here. And people will complain where it's like, look, if I can't choose what weapon comes up in the dice roll, it's gonna feel kind of weird. Okay, so I should have stayed inside. I can stay inside the field, the blue field, get my mana back, and just spam magic, I guess. Am I gonna have to go through this every time? Because I don't think there's a save spot anywhere here. It's water. Okay, so the ambush is gone. Okay, so that was just a one-time ambush. I'm okay with that. It's like a mob. It's like a mob key. I'm not opposed to that. Just as long as it doesn't keep respawning. Wasn't there a game called Crypt Arc? Crypt Arc was really like this, I don't think. I need to go back and watch some more videos of Crypt Arc, because that was a game that was on my wish list for a while. By the way, shouldn't there be a Steam sale going on in the next couple of months? Like in the next couple of weeks, maybe? Like the back-to-school sale or something? Because the Steam... I mean, I haven't gotten anything from Steam in maybe like 8 or 9 months. Which is... It's gotten to the point where I only buy like a couple of games on Steam every year. Which isn't bad, it's just... Because my backlog is stupid. So I have no reason to go out and buy like a $7 game if I know it's going to be $5 if I wait a couple more years. I think my logic is just, why spend $7 on a game right now? My backlog is so ridiculous. I might as well just wait till it drops to $5. I mean, there are some games where I probably will, pony up. It just depends. Because remember, I can't sell those games. If I'm going to buy it, it's going to be a game I know I like. Like, I'm willing to buy a cartridge game for like $10 or $15 if I know I can sell it for $8 or $9. You know what I mean? So that lowers the price of ownership. Whereas if it's on Steam, I'm only willing to fork over the cash if I know I'm going to want to keep it. Or at least I'm willing to throw $3 towards a game that seems interesting and it's basically just a rental. That's pretty much what Steam is most of the time, right? It's a long-term rental. Press the Y button. Rather no healing spells. At least not yet. Made it out. What is this, R-type? I got the Y things, whatever. What are those Y things for, anyway? That's the heart I needed. Ah! Are those magnets? That would suck if those were those are magnets. Aw, crap. There has to be a save spot. Well, if I don't have to fight the mob every time, I'm okay. I can just avoid everybody, I think. Again, the idea of this seems really interesting. It's just I'm curious how well it's going to play out. And there are a couple of good blurbs on the back of the box. That's cool, I guess. I mean, it's less cringy than that Dragon Maid shooter I played a couple of days ago. Why? That was the axe. No more heart refills, huh? Can I dash? I don't think I've dashed yet. The L button. I can't dash yet. So how do I deal with... Ah! Do I just not get close to it? Yeah, how do I dodge that? Because it's like a gravity well. I only have one heart left. So this is bad. Okay, maybe I should just go slow. Go slow and let them suck me in, I guess. Let them suck me in and then go down, I guess. That's what it sounds like. But yeah, these checkpoints are going to be kind of bad. I have to keep going through this every time. Yeah, I set the difficulty to normal, didn't I? I want to say I did. Cheats? We're not going to cheat. It's going to be absurd. I could have swore there was a difficulty slider at some point. But yeah, I want to say this game has a difficulty slider where it gets pretty hard if you want. This is like a hardcore mode, too. You know, for reasons. I can't think of a game like I can't think I can play a game with a hardcore mode, even Skyrim. Like that just feels too punishing for a game where, you know, an enemy you can't really avoid can just kill you in one shot. I mean well maybe two. Like you can get headshot. Like if an archer can take you out in one shot in Skyrim. That's not the kind of game where I want to play in hardcore mode. Diablo 3, I think, is a bit more fair about that. That's a very grindy game. I don't know if hardcore mode would really work for me in a game like that. See, I can't really dodge these guys. I probably just needed a better weapon. I probably just needed a better spell. That's the problem. So there's no way for me to heal myself. How am I going to get through this gauntlet? That's the problem. We just go up and around. Yeah, stay over him. Yeah, that's good. Then get sucked down a little bit, then go down. There we go. Yeah, avoid those guys entirely. I can't shoot this thing? Key. Careful! Wow! That could have been a problem. Alright, so what do we got? Stay up. And go down. Ah, up! Alright, jeez. Is there a save spot here? I don't see a save spot here. We got another puzzle here. Give me a second. There better be a heart in there. Yeah, that does not look promising. Yeah, that does not look promising. So what am I shooting with? Let me just I guess it just heals me. Yeah, I only have 1 health, so I only have 1 heart. This is not gonna work. Hurry up! That's 1. No rush for the wise. Up. All right. Did I miss one thing? I need a spell to get through that? Just a second. Nope. Nope. Maybe I should use my axe? Why? That did it, so the Y worked. So it got through the wall. That was the important thing. Give me the heart. Yeah, I definitely needed that. Give me the loot. More treasure, I guess. Fine. Yeah, don't take a hit. I need a beacon. Is there a beacon in here, maybe? I'll take a heart. More money. Do I lose my money when I die? Maybe there's a death penalty of some kind? What was that? Ooh, let me steal. These sound like 2 Saturday morning cartoons from the late 90s. Or the mid-90s, actually. Turbo Wizards. Turbo Wizard sounds like an 80s cartoon. The Guy Defender sounds like a 90s cartoon. Like the Dagata Defenders from the 2000s. Ugly show, but it was actually somewhat decently written for what it was. Okay, let's put it this way. If you asked me to make a list of the animated series from the early 2000s I didn't hate, Dagata Defenders was one of them. But it felt very much like a show that was made to get around tax laws in Luxembourg or something. It's like they did the whole thing in Luxembourg and it looked ugly as sin. But I guess the writing was decent. Like they tried to have like decently written characters, so you can tell like that was a show that was made by people who were looking for a better opportunity, but they got one. The best opportunity they could get at the time was on a kids show. Like Seth MacFarlane was doing the Ace Ventura animated series back in the day. Butch Hartman was doing that show back in the 90s. So everyone has to start somewhere. And Butch Hartman, I think he went on to do Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. And of course we all know what happened to Seth MacFarlane. So I think he was actually working at Cartoon Network, and he did a pilot for Family Guy, which I want to say you can see on YouTube. It's not great. It's pretty much what you expect from a pilot it looks like a pilot for a show that never got made. Let's just put it that way. You could tell the guy who made Family Guy made a pilot for a Cartoon Network that wasn't an Adult Swim show that never got picked up. And that's all I remember about it, is that feeling of ennui. Like, yeah, this feels like a Seth MacFarlane script. That's ultimately going to be refined into something that's a bit better. And it was, but... You wouldn't know, let me put it this way. When Toxic Crusaders came out, you would not have guessed that the guy who worked on that show would go on to do 10 and a Half Men. Or 2.5 Men, or what was the other show? Big Bang Theory. But you'd be willing to believe that he felt that he didn't want to work on that show. like it's like he and David Wise, Chuck Lorre, you might know. Chuck Lorre did the lyrics for the Ninja Turtles animated series theme song that everyone knows from the 1980s. And eventually he wound up doing the lyrics for the Barnyard Commandos pilot that I think I've never seen it. It never got picked up. I think he did the lyrics for... I think he also did the lyrics for the Toxic Crusaders theme song. That, and I think the first 3 or 4 episodes are currently streaming on Tubi TV. Maybe the entire series is, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to a thing this guy said, by the way. But Chuck Lorre, you can tell from his script, like he was just bored. Like, he was just cashing a paycheck, so... if it was funny, it was because he was probably spitting out these scripts in, like, less than a couple of days. I would not be shocked if he spat out these scripts. I mean, David Wise did, like, maybe 100 scripts for Ninja Turtles, and, like, at least a quarter of them were total cash-ins. Like, he works quickly, but the guy was clearly not interested in half the scripts he wrote. but when he was on point, like, you got some really good stuff, so... David Wise was like that. He was getting regular work in the 1990s, so it's good that he was getting that much work. But a lot of the scripts he was just crapping out because they needed to fill an order. He's like, you know what? We already know what the structure is for the Ninja Turtle show. By season 5, we pretty much knew what to expect. So he was kind of writing scripts with that attitude, I would argue. But half of the scripts he wrote, I thought, were actually decent. We'll talk more about Ninja Turtles some other time. So you can probably end the research stream here. I mean, this game, I might play more of this, but I don't like the controls. That's hurting. That's hurting a lot, because this seems really promising. Ooh, a Seeking Sword. But like I said, my whole beef with this game at this point is that the dual stick controls are good in concept. When your character's dodging bullets, there's too much momentum to the controls. So you'll run into bullets because it's hard to make precise movements. This is not like, you know, your typical 20th century shoot 'em up where you just kind of dart. You just kind of move in 90-degree angles or in 45-degree angles. It's not a game where you can move in 45-degree angles and just always dodge bullets. This isn't Radiant Silvergun here. So because you have that, because your character slides around so much, that's disappointing. How do I quit? Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to play more. The load times, by the way, are terrible. At least when I was playing on in handheld mode. That music got really loud. Like it didn't know what the settings were. Yeah. So basically, this sounds like a free roaming Metroidvania, but with dual stick shooting controls. But the bullet hell stuff doesn't work because the controls are too slippery. So again, you're gonna run into bullets. You'll run into enemies because you're sliding around so much. So that's disappointing. That's potential though. I just don't know how to get around those controls. If they patched in better controls or better calibrations, that might help. They aren't available here. If they patched in an ability to calibrate the controls or make them tighter, but that might make the game too easy, but yeah. I can see what they were trying to do, but it's not easy to make control. I guess the analog controls need a bit more refining. But it is very promising, and some of the writing is pretty good, so. Part of me says that they'll make a sequel to this game if it sells decently, and the sequel will fix most of these problems, or they'll make a spiritual sequel and it'll fix most of these problems. It's promising, but they need to tighten things up. That's disappointing. If you can get around that, though, the game seems pretty interesting so far. You just have to be willing to get around those controls. And your really lame main weapon. It's developed by Super Awesome Hyperdimensional Mega Team. Published by Team 17 on the Nintendo Switch. In a cartridge that I just got right here from the Maryland Library System. Yeah. I'll probably sample it later, but right now it just feels kind of lame. Promising, but lame. I was afraid of that. So we'll put this one on the back burner. I got a backlog to go through, so we'll go put this on the back burner and go to something else. Recorded this audio with my Skull Candy earbuds into the audio splitter, into the J5 Create USB-C capture device, into my quad-core laptop with the Windows 10 camera application, capturing this footage at 60 frames a second. I'll see what the frame rate is, but like I said, I played it mounted, obviously. The handheld mode seems fine. But against the controls. That's what's bothering me here. It's a shame.